A new museum opens to the public in the nation's capital tomorrow, and it's devoted entirely to the history of just one book. Granted, that book is the most widely read in the history of the world, but the Museum of the Bible is aiming to bring the Bible to life through acquisition of artifacts and antiquities. Some of those acquisitions proved to be controversial. More on that in just a minute. But the museum's also being questioned by the media for being too religious. It's been primarily funded by Hobby Lobby founder Steve Green, the owner of the company that took its fight over religious freedom and won all the way to the Supreme Court.
Candida Moss is the author of a new book, Bible Nation, the United States of Hobby Lobby. She worries the Green family connection means the museum has an evangelical agenda.
They did try to put a Bible curriculum in public schools, and so I wouldn't want to underestimate the impact of this museum on people who come to visit it.
In truth, the museum directors make no secret of their Christian convictions. Carrie Summers acknowledges that board members have been asked to sign a statement of faith.
I mean, it's just a commonality there. We're going to operate by the Bible. We believe in the Bible.
Well, Steve Green, founder of Hobby Lobby and chairman of the Museum of the Bible, joins us live. Steve, great to see you tonight.
Good to be here. Thank you, Shannon.
Okay, it's interesting to me that some people would be worried about a museum about the Bible being too religious. I've been through it, and regardless of what your faith perspective is, or if you don't have one at all, there are great history lessons. I think it's very interesting. I think people should check it out for themselves. In the meantime, you're dealing with some criticism, first of all, about some of the ways that some of the things were acquired that are in the museum. So I want to ask you about that and give you a chance to respond. An article on Vox said this: earlier this summer, that recklessness caught up with the Greens. In July, Hobby Lobby admitted to having illegally imported ancient Near Eastern cuneiform tablets and agreed to pay a $3 million fine and forfeit the antiquities in question. So your chance now to respond to that publicly.
Well, as an importer of record, you're responsible for everything that happens in a transition or a transaction. And so the antiquities world is very complicated, and importing that, you need a lot of expertise. And we early on made some mistakes, and we have acquired items that were seized and paid the fine as we understood the risk that we took. So, but we've got expertise that we have brought on that really helps us make sure that we don't make those mistakes again. We're abiding by the highest standards of museum guidelines, and we're excited about opening tomorrow.
Yeah, there are things there that people truly will not be able to see anywhere else. There are items that are believed to be Dead Sea Scrolls. There are many informative and educational items as well, along with fun things, too, that, you know, for the kids that they can get involved and check things out, and rides and all kinds of things. But I found it was interesting when I toured the museum last week that we were told that there were no images of Jesus in the museum. And I was told in part that's because it was a very specific decision, because not everyone agrees on what he may have looked like or exactly how he would be presented today. So tell me about that, because there are, you know, some on the right who were sort of confused by that. I refer to David Brody with CBN. He said, the museum has plenty of electronics, gizmos, displays, movies, and cool effects. But what about the Jesus factor? In other words, where exactly is Jesus inside this museum? Because after all, he is God.
Well, a lot of that comes from our New Testament theater. We cover the New Testament story in a theater that's about 11 minutes long. And in that theater, the creative team chose not to show the face of Jesus in that story. But I'm sure that there are images in some of the artifacts and the illuminated manuscripts. We have a stained glass window on one of the floors that is a representation of Jesus. So, but the theater itself, where the primary story of the New Testament is told, does not show Jesus' face.
What do you hope that people who visit this museum will come away with after having experienced it?
Well, first of all, I hope that people realize that this book has impacted their life, whether they realize it or not, because it has. It is foundational to our nation. Principles that our nation was built on, our founders found from the Bible. It's impacted science and governments and literature. Music, in all these areas had an impact. And so as they learn of its impact, its history, and know its story a little bit better, I hope that people will go out of the museum and desire to engage with it more. They'll open up the book because we know it less today than we ever have. And we just think that there's a need for people to learn about it themselves.
And it sounds like, in my experience was, in going through, there's nothing proselytizing about it. There are all kinds of faith traditions, or no faith tradition at all, that are respected.
Exactly. We are wanting to present the Bible just factually. It's not about a faith tradition, a church, a denomination. It's simply about presenting the facts of the Bible. Today we had several ribbon cuttings. We had a ribbon cutting for the Israeli Antiquities Authority's space. They have some of their own artifacts in the museum. The Vatican had some of their own artifacts in there as well. So we've had Orthodox groups that have come through. So this is really not about a faith tradition. It's simply about sharing the facts of this book. We have our differences, but we suggest let's set our differences aside for a moment. Let's just come and learn about this book that we all love and share.
Well, I think that folks should check it out for themselves if they have questions and be their own critics of it. It's a fascinating display, no matter where you're coming from, and I wish you the best of luck. I'm going to go back when I can spend some more time there. There's a lot to learn.
Thank you, Shannon.
Steve Green, thank you so much. Good to chat with you.
Thank you.
Coming up, a big